Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Mel Kiper of ESPN just released his newest mock draft, and it's a 2-round mock draft. Okay, so we're going to keep the same format, breaking down the top 10 picks, and then we're going to look to the second round and analyze who the Jets are picking there. So let's not waste any time, let's jump right in. So first overall, Mel has the Jaguars going with Aidan Hutchinson, defensive end from Michigan. I would say right now the favorite. Okay, this isn't a shock, this isn't a surprise. Aidan Hutchinson, he has the size, he has the speed, and it's looking like he is going to be the #1 overall pick. To team him up next to Josh Allen, one of the game's better younger pass rushers, it would be absolutely insane. Okay, even though that division, of course, you still have Tennessee, of course, you have the Indianapolis Colts. I feel like the Jaguars, man, with Doug Peterson coming in the building, with all these new free agents, with Trevor Lawrence going into year 2, I'm not saying I think Jacksonville can make a deep playoff push or anything like that, but I definitely feel like the Jaguars, I mean, they can be a tough out next season. Okay, so Aidan Hutchinson, a culture changer. I like the pick. Next up at pick number 2, Mel has the Detroit Lions going with Ahmad Gardner, corner from Cincinnati. And I gotta be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this pick here. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Ahmad Gardner as a prospect, and I love the direction of this Lions franchise. I think Brad Holmes is the right general manager to really right the ship in Detroit. But man, when I'm looking at cornerback, you know, Oruwariye played really, really well last season. This team invested a top 3 pick, the 3rd overall pick in Jeff Okudah back in 2020. Granted, he's missed a lot of time. There's been injuries. I get it. And it was an old regime, but is this team really going to go cornerback in the top 2, top 3 of the draft in just a handful of seasons? I'm not sure. They also added Mike Hughes, another younger cornerback. They have Ifedi Melifonwu from Syracuse, who's actually a guy who I wanted the Jets to draft last season. I look at that room, it's already really, really young. And look, I'm not doubting Ahmad Gardner coming in and, you know, being an impact player and being that awesome cornerback for that Aaron Glenn defense. I'm just not so sure it's maximizing the pick. You know, I think if this team drafts an edge rusher, whether it's a Kayvon Thibodeaux, right? Unfortunately, Aidan Hutchinson's off the board here. You could go with a KT, you could go with a Travon Walker. I think that inherently would make the cornerback's life easier. I mean, not only are you just addressing a big need at edge, but you're also getting after the quarterback. You're getting in the backfield. And, you know, again, I think that would make the cornerbacks' lives easier as we stand right now. Even a Kyle Hamilton at safety. Thinking about Hamilton and Tracy Walker in the back end of the defense gets me pumped up. So I think if the Lions really want to go with the corner, I think Booth from Clemson, maybe at 32, that would be an awesome selection. But at spot number 2, I really feel like you got to maximize that pick. Again, I love Ahmad Gardner and I love the Detroit Lions direction, but as a pairing, I'm not so sure how I feel about it. Next up at pick number 3, Mel has the Houston Texans going with defensive lineman from Georgia, Travon Walker. And according to this mock draft, I think Houston's in a great position, right? The Texans kind of remind me of the Jets and the Jaguars in a way, because they could go in a myriad of different directions and still get a massive, massive upgrade. They're not locked into this box where it's like, oh, we have to go with one player. We're only shooting for 2 guys, and if they aren't there, then we're screwed. No, the Texans could go offensive line. They could go Evan Neal. They could go Ikem Ekwonu. They could go Ahmad Gardner if he falls. They could go with a Kayvon Thibodeaux, or in this case, Travon Walker. I think Lovie Smith, I think really this Texans organization, they need some cornerstones on defense, right? I like what Grenard put together last season, rushing the passer, but I really feel like the Texans lack that top end talent, and Walker, arguably the biggest upside of the draft, so I understand it. Okay, so next up at pick number 4, Mel has the Jets going with defensive end from Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeaux. I would love this. Okay, now I know Chris Sims recently put out his edge rusher rankings, and KT didn't even crack the top 5, and that definitely sent shockwaves through social media, but from what I've seen from Thibodeaux, I really like him, right? I like the versatility, I like the upside, I like the 3 straight years of production back at Oregon. I mean, this guy could not be stopped. He's such a young guy, right? Football player aside, just a young dude. And he had his way with the Pac-12, won numerous awards. Okay, I think if you take a guy in Kayvon Thibodeaux, a talented individual, and you team him up with a Robert Saleh, a player's coach, a guy that's known for really maximizing players' strengths, putting them in the right position to have success, specifically on the defensive line. And by the way, he's coming in at a huge position of need, opposite of Carl Lawson. I honestly, I think I would really like this pick here. Next up, pick 5, Mel has the Giants going with Ikem Ekwonu, tackle from NC State. Slam dunk, right? I feel like the Giants can't really go wrong unless they go with like a wide receiver or something like that. For me, the biggest needs that the Giants have on this roster: edge rusher, offensive line. They have their choice between all of the offensive linemen in this class, and they are landing Ikem Ekwonu. I mean, there's people out there that think Ekwonu is the best player in this class. They are landing him at spot number 5, immediate plug and play guy. I think he's the starting right tackle right off the bat. There are a couple of people that maybe think that Ikem could possibly be a guard at the next level, and I understand it, but I look at that as a positive, right? This is a guy that can play multiple positions here, so I think Ikem Ekwonu to the New York Giants makes a ton of sense. Next up at pick number 6, Mel has the Panthers going quarterback from Liberty, Malik Willis. And to me, I feel like the Panthers have almost got to go with the quarterback here, either quarterback or offensive line, specifically tackle. And, luckily for them, Evan Neal is here, Charles Cross is here. I like both of those fits for Carolina, but man, is Matt Rule on his last leg? What's happening with the quarterback position? Like, this was a huge question mark going into the offseason in one of the busiest quarterback movement off seasons that I could remember. The Panthers couldn't secure one, even in the free agency market, with like the second tier guys. Marcus Mariota off the board, Jameis Winston off the board, Andy Dalton off the board, Tyrod Taylor off the board. Like, did the Panthers just swing and miss with tons of different guys? Did they even attempt? I feel like really Carolina's only option here is a rookie at 6, or they have a change of heart with Baker Mayfield, who could, very well still be traded. So I think Malik Willis, he makes sense. He obviously has that big upside. But my only hesitation here with Willis, is he ready to play? Because I think Matt Rule needs to save his job this year. If Carolina gets 3 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins next year, I think Rule is gone. And I think you're putting a lot of weight, a lot of expectations on Malik Willis's shoulders if he is not ready to play at spot number 6. But I mean, if you're Carolina, you have to swing. You can't strike out looking here. Okay, next up at pick number 7, he has the Giants going with Jermaine Johnson, edge rusher from Florida State. Again, I love this pick, right? Much like the Ikem Ekwonu pick, Jermaine Johnson comes in he's going to be a day 1 starter. He's a versatile player that can line up in different positions. He can play in multiple schemes. He's violent. Tons of production last year. Last year with the Seminoles, it was his first true season where he was the guy, just a true starter, and he was the premier edge rusher, right? And he did not disappoint at all. I love his fit with the Giants, and the Giants once again are walking away in a fantastic situation. I mean, all these Giants mock drafts are just, I feel like it's so easy. Like, their 2 biggest needs are at positions where there's so much depth. So it's awesome for the Giants fans out there. I really like this pick. Next up at pick number 8, Mel has the Falcons going with Garrett Wilson, wide receiver from Ohio State. My favorite wide receiver in this class. It makes a lot of sense here, right? Unfortunately, you had the whole Ridley fallout. He is not going to be a Falcon next season. They lost Russell Gage to free agent, actually to a division rival in the Buccaneers. They don't really have that go-to wide receiver. I know this team has Kyle Pitts, and I am a big fan of Kyle Pitts, one of my favorite players in football. Man, it gets me pumped up thinking about what Kyle Pitts can do, like longevity, like long-term. It's crazy, but Garrett Wilson, I think, is a solid complement to Kyle Pitts. He's explosive. He can hurt you down the field. He can hurt you in the short passing game. Plays bigger than his size. Strong hands. You could send him, put him in pre-snap motion. You could get the football to him in a lot of different ways, and he's very good with yards after the catch. So I think right now, Marcus Mariota coming in, I'm expecting he is going to be the starter. According to this, I mean, of course, the Falcons could still draft a quarterback or something like that, but I'm envisioning Mariota there, and I think Garrett Wilson is a great fit. Although I do like Drake London in this style of system as a perimeter outside guy, but I do feel like Garrett Wilson is a bit more explosive, so I get it. Next up at spot number 9, Mel has the Seahawks going with tackle from Alabama, Evan Neal. What an absolute steal this would be. Okay, it was just a couple months ago that Evan Neal was the favorite to be the first overall pick in the draft, and now we're sitting here doing mock drafts a couple weeks before the start of it, and Seattle's landing Neal at 9? Are you kidding me? At a major position of need. Evan Neal's a safe player. He's a versatile player. He can line up at left tackle or right tackle or guard. You know, Evan Neal can line up all over the place. I love this pick for the Seattle Seahawks. And Charles Cross is here. Man, Seattle, this 9th overall pick is solid. Like, they could, you know, yes, this Seahawks team has a bunch of holes, but they could really land an awesome player here. Next up at pick number 10, Mel has the Jets going with Drake London, wide receiver from USC, a 50-50 winner, an instant red zone threat, a guy that could win on the outside by himself. Okay, he would provide this Jets wide receiver room with height, 6'5". That's just something that the Jets just don't have that much of. You know, it's Berrios, it's Elijah Moore. Corey Davis is definitely bigger, but, you know, if you compare him to Drake London, London has the edge. I mean, you take a look at London as a blocker on the outside. I think he's a massive upgrade. You know, thinking about a guy that big, that powerful, that strong in the blocking game, right? Blocking for running backs on, you know, outside runs. I think it would be a humongous step in the right direction. I also think London, just as a pass catcher, he bullies corners. He ragdolls cornerbacks. He's violent. He's hard to bring down. He's aggressive. He has sneaky athleticism in the short passing game, which I really like. Also, I think Zach Wilson needs to be better at ball placement, right? In the intermediate part, and really the short and intermediate parts of the pass game. One way you do that, or one way you kind of help Zach Wilson in that department, is giving him a guy with a big catch radius. London provides that. Okay, so with Garrett Wilson off the board here, Drake London does make a lot of sense, and he would be a huge help to this Jets offense that needs to get more explosive, that needs to get taller, that needs to get better at blocking on the outside. Let's move on to the second round. Okay, so scratch that. We're actually not going to the second round here. As I scroll down, it's looking like Mel has the Jets trading back up into the first round with the Cincinnati Bengals at spot number 31 to draft Tyler Linderbaum. Now, he actually included the compensation, the trade compensation. The Jets would be receiving pick number 31. The Bengals would be receiving pick 35 and a 4th round pick. Okay, so just sliding back 4 spots, they add that extra 4th round pick. Maybe it would take a little bit more than just that 4th round pick to slide back, because you are entering, you're re-entering the first round here, and those first round contracts are, you know, they're pretty valuable, because in this day and age with the cornerback market, the QB market, the wide receiver market, you know, I'm talking about annual pay here, that 5th year option will come in handy for organizations down the line. And we all know Joe Douglas is like a long-term thinker. So I think it might cost a little bit more to get up to spot number 31 here, but he is the Jets going with Tyler Linderbaum, center from Iowa. And my stance on Linderbaum hasn't really changed. I am still loving Linderbaum. I think he would come in and be an upgrade over McGovern. You could take McGovern and try to trade him. You could try to release him, and you could save a ton of money against the cap. Okay, he's a $10.3 million cap hit this year, and if you part ways with him, you would save $9 million against the cap. So I think that's a nice chunk of change that Joe Douglas could save. The only thing is that, and by the way, you're also giving Zach Wilson a young center to grow with throughout the years, assuming Zach Wilson is the franchise guy and he's going to be here for the next, 10 seasons. Linderbaum is that he's going to be the mangled, right? The guy that you could rely on, the guy that's making Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl, the guy that is helping in both the pass game and the running game. This guy fits the system. He did a lot. I mean, you look at the Iowa offensive line, the Iowa blocking scheme. He's going to be coming in and doing a lot of the same stuff. I think he moves really well in space. I think he pulls well. I really like Linderbaum. As far as a trade up, though, I think that's where it gets a little... for me, and this is actually going to be a video that I have planned sooner rather than later, but I think for me, I want to hang on to these draft picks, right? Unless we're dealing them for a superstar player or something like that, I want to really load this team up, replenish this team with talent, and add depth. One of the biggest issues last year, not only was this Jets team just young, but we were injured and we had nobody else. Marcus May goes down at safety, and it's like, wow, like, what do we do now? Carl Lawson goes down at edge rush, and we're like, we can't get after the passer at all. Becton down for the year. George Fant did a great job stepping in at left tackle, but we don't have that luxury at every single position. So I think to add a guy in Tyler Linderbaum at the bottom of the first round, it makes a lot of sense. For this trade compensation, but I think in reality it might take a little bit more, and that's where it could be the line in the sand for me personally. So let's see, so he traded away 35 to the Bengals. Let's see who goes in the second round real quick. Jacksonville, Kenyon Green, interesting guard from Texas A&M. Detroit Lions, David Ojabo, slam dunk pick at spot number 34. Man, beautiful for Brad Holmes there. Bengals, Kaiir Elam, corner from Florida, underrated player. I do like Elam. Giants at 36. Petrie, safety from Baylor. You're teaming him up next to McKinney. I get it. Houston Texans at 37. Jaquan Brisker, safety from Penn State. 38. New York Jets here. Breece Hall, running back, Iowa State. I've watched a ton of Breece Hall, okay? I've seen tons of Cyclones games over the past 3-4 seasons, and Breece Hall, man, this guy he is good. He is really good. Arguably the best back in the draft class next to Kenneth Walker. I think I would take Breece Hall. Reminds me a little bit of Matt Forte. Doesn't have the just the insane speed, but it's weird because he looks like he's playing slower, but everybody else around him is like slowing down to his speed, if that makes any sort of sense at all. Like he doesn't, like I remember watching like a guy in Dree Archer years ago back in college, and this guy just flew. He looked like when you were watching Archer, he was just in fast, like he was going in like super speed or something like that, and everybody else was in slow motion. With Breece Hall, he doesn't have that. Like, to me at least, it just never really popped when you're watching the Cyclones games, but he is hard to bring down. The moves in space are crazy, the spin moves, the juke moves, and he's a bell cow, right? So Iowa State really fed him the football. He was a big part of that offense, and he also helps out in the pass game. And I do think he would come in and fit the system, and he would essentially be the, I don't want to say thunder and lightning to Michael Carter, but he would be right there with Michael Carter. I wouldn't be shocked if Breece Hall is actually maybe a little better than Michael Carter. But it's interesting to go with a running back at pick number 38. I think if anything, the Jets would probably attack running back in the third round or the fourth round. I know this draft has the Jets giving away a fourth round pick here, but Breece Hall, the Jets would be walking away in a better position. You're totally revamping the offense with London, Breece Hall, and Linderbaum. And then, of course, you're getting your edge rusher at the start of the draft. So I think, honestly, I really like this draft for the Jets. I really do. I think Breece Hall, maybe, early second round for the Jets specifically, is maybe a little questionable, and it's nothing against Hall. Again, I love the player. And I do think there's a chance Hall could go bottom round 1 to maybe like the Buffalo Bills or something like that. But I just think the Jets should be really looking at safety, right, in round 2. You're giving away one of these second round picks to go secure Linderbaum. Pick number 38, let's go get a major upgrade at a position of need. I don't think running back is we're in complete panic mode, hitting the red button saying, what are we doing at running back? We got to figure it out when the season's over. I don't think the Jets are in that position, but I like Hall nonetheless. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Crazy mock draft here. Can't wait to check out your thoughts. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and go Jets.